Here in England, we're having an absolutely mental heat wave at the moment. It's going up to about 31 degrees. I'm sure if you're watching that from America or Australia, that sounds like a nice chilled day. But for us Brits, it is absolutely roasting. So in this video, I want to share 5 tips with you that will help you ride better and more safely in the heat. Various different tips to help you go out and ride there when it's absolutely baking hot and enjoy yourself and still be able to perform well without putting yourself in any danger. So I hope you enjoy them. So tip number 1 when it comes to riding in the heat is to make sure you plan accordingly and make sure that you plan in some nice sheltered bits, pretty much like we're in. If you're out in the sun, really hot at the minute, it's absolutely baking heat, but just getting a little bit of shelter like this really helps cool you down. So the worst kind of rides you can do at the minute are the rides where you just head out on top of the moors for us Brits, or just out in the mountains if you live abroad, and just staying really exposed the whole time, because all you're doing then is absolutely baking. You're generally fine for an hour and a half while you're doing that, but then you reach a point where you're absolutely melting and you get exhausted and you're proper overheating. So what I'd advise doing, if you can, is plan a route ideally that kind of goes in and out of trees or stays within trees, even better. So you might spend 40 minutes kind of in open ground, but then see if you can drop into some woodland or into a forest and ride there for half an hour to an hour and then pop back out. What you don't want to do is just stay out in the open for real extended periods of time, because it just gets absolutely overwhelming. And even though when you're in the woods it's still muggy, it's still hot, at least you're protected from the sun then, and then you can kind of cool yourself down a little bit, relax a little bit, bring your heart rate down and just let yourself come back down again. I've tried myself, like I was planning last weekend to do a 6-hour ride out in the sun. I just had to completely change the route because I was out for 2 hours with no shade and I was melting. I just had to kind of abandon the original plan and then go and find some woods and do a different ride than I planned, because as much as you think, yeah, I'll be fine just staying out in the heat, you need some shelter. It's not a good idea going from just riding normal temperatures to absolutely baking. So that is tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to make sure that you drink more water and add electrolytes to that water. When you're riding in the winter or in normal temperatures, you can get away with having half a litre, maybe even less of that water an hour. And generally speaking, in normal conditions, you want to be drinking half a litre to a litre of water per hour. But when it's baking hot weather, you probably want to up that to 1 to 2 litres of water an hour. You're going to be losing that much sweat and that much liquid that you need to keep on top of it, and you need to replace it. So if that means taking your rucksack with your bladder, if that means wearing a bum bag with your hydro pack in there, do it. It's well worth doing, and you might even want to plan in some stops to get water. What you also want to do is replace the electrolytes that you're losing. So when you sweat, you obviously lose water, but you lose salts as well through your skin, and they're essential for your muscle contractions and to be able to perform, or for your muscles to be able to perform as they should. So what you need to do is add electrolytes to that water, so that as you sweat out water and salts, you're drinking it and replacing those salts as well, and that just helps keep the balance of salt right in your body and helps you continue performing. So make sure that you're drinking more water, probably a litre to 2 litres of water an hour when it's baking hot, and you're also adding electrolytes to that water as well to make sure that you're staying properly hydrated. Water on its own isn't enough. You need to put electrolytes in that in the heat. Tip number 3 is to go a little bit slower and chill out a little bit. When it's absolutely baking hot, it's not the time to be going for PRs, or at least not on the climbs. It's probably a great time to be trying to go as fast as you can downhill if that's your thing and you want to get a PR for a descent, because it's probably nice and dry, nice and dusty, grippy, hard rolling, so you can fly over everything. So you can probably go as fast as you want downhill and get some good PRs downhill if that's, again, what you're into and what you're interested in. But what I don't advise is trying to PR on the climbs, because you're just going to absolutely overheat even more. What I do advise is backing off a little bit, paying real attention to your body and just noticing if your heart rate is increasing more than it perhaps does normally, if you're feeling really overwarm, if you're starting to get sort of frustrated by things and narky and a bit like grumpy. All those can be signs of heat exhaustion and that you're too hot. So what I would advise is just slowing it down, using a gear lower than you do normally, spin at a slightly slower cadence and just take your time. Taking an extra 10-15 minutes to complete a climb might mean that you can ride for longer and will stop you overheating. So in the heat, slow it down a little bit, take your time, conserve your energy, and then if at the end of the ride you're feeling nice and cool and you've got loads left in the tank, sure, power it for the last 30 minutes, an hour or whatever, but you better start in slower, keeping your heat down, keeping your body temperature down and whatnot, and then building it up over time if it goes cooler or you feel like you can. What you don't want to do is absolutely blast out of the gate and then be done within an hour because you just absolutely cooked yourself to the point of heat exhaustion. That is not what you want to do. So that's tip number 3. Tip number 4 is to take double or triple the amount of breaks on the ride that you normally do. So if you normally stop at the top of every climb, you might want to stop halfway up each climb just to get your breath back, to bring your temperature back down and to chill a little bit. Anywhere from 2 to 3 times the amount of breaks that you normally take will really help you keep your body temperature down, keep your heart rate down and just help you recover. And that's just going to allow you to manage that temperature better. It also allows you to do kind of like a mental check-in and to check your body almost over in your brain, in your head. So when you're normally riding, if you're blasting a climb, you can kind of get really focused on the end point and on getting to the top of the climb, and you might not notice how overheating you're getting, how much you're sweating, how that head is like, how you're starting to get a headache, and you want to really pay attention to those things. So when you stop more frequently, you can kind of introspect a little bit, assess how you're feeling, and then you can pay attention to, right, I'm okay, I can carry on, maybe I need to rest for a little bit longer. But what you don't want to do is go all in, hardcore, motivation, discipline, I'm going to smash this ride, and then just get to the point where you're exhausted or the heat gets too much for you. If you take some breaks and check in on your body regularly, you'll be able to perform much better and ride for much longer. 5th and final tip, and this is a pretty obvious one, but one that so many people don't do, is to wear sun cream. Sounds stupidly obvious, but make sure that you wear plenty of sun cream and also wear it on those exposed parts like your neck, your ears, your arms and whatnot. You'll see I've got absolute cyclist tan lines right now because obviously you're covered. You get so much heat and sun, onto your arms. You want to protect them, so wear sun cream, especially on those exposed areas. And then the other side of it as well, which is kind of rolled into taking the precautions, is I'd say, this is almost like a 5B, an extra tip, is to just listen to your body and don't be afraid to stop if needs be. So just like you're wearing sun cream to protect your body, you can protect yourself as well by stopping riding if you need it, calling it early, adjusting the ride that you're going to do, not going as far, not going as fast, and just taking it easy and relaxing a little bit. Like, listen to your body, don't push yourself because you don't want to end up in hospital through heat exhaustion or even worse, heat stroke. Listen to your body, take it easy, enjoy it, but enjoy it safely. Now I hope you really enjoyed these 5 tips. I enjoyed sharing them with you. Go enjoy the sunshine, but enjoy it safely and to a level where you can still perform well. And if you've got any other tips that you think I've missed out, make sure you leave them in the comments. Thanks so much for watching.